Kronosaurus was once considered the longest of all the sea reptiles. It's recently been knocked off that perch, and we'll discuss that and more fun Kronosaurus facts as we sketch this little guy. So let's just turn the page and get started. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning on a, goodness, is it Tuesday morning? Look, there's Rick already. Howdy, Rick and Pamela. It is 5:30 in the morning on a Tuesday morning. 5:30 in the morning on Tuesday mornings is when I like to do a little thing where I pull a random object from the Random Object Randomizer, a toy from the toy box, and I draw it, and we talk about it. And today's random object from the Random Object Randomizer is a Kronosaurus. Kronosaurus is an ancient sea reptile, thankfully not alive today, nor there's not been any specimens cited in several million years. And that's a good thing. These things are voracious and vicious, and I would not want to go swimming with one. It is in the Plesiosauridae family. It's in a subgroup called the pliosaur. And what distinguishes the pliosaur family from the rest of the plesiosaurs is its lack of a neck. It goes pretty much straight from the shoulder, has this truncated neck here, and then straight into the head. It still has the vertebrae, still has the seven neck vertebrae. They're just short and stuffy. But I thought it was funny that in order to make a shorter name for a plesiosaur without a neck, they just took the E and the S. They took the E and the S out and made it a pliosaur. Just took two letters out, as though they were taking two vertebrae out. And last night, when I was punch drunk from being up too long, that was hilarious to me. Oh, goodness. Hope everybody's doing all right today. It is Tuesday morning. We're one step closer to another weekend. A day closer to our Thursday night program, which is my favorite night of the week. Another day closer to my beautiful young bride having to report back to her school as a school teacher, as an art teacher. I know she is looking forward to that.
You're so funny.
She is looking forward to that the same way most people look forward to a root canal. She loves her students, though. She truly loves her students. Even the obnoxious ones. She'll come home and tell me about how obnoxious they are, and then they run up and they give her a hug and say, "We love you, Mrs. Manning." And she's like, "Aw, I hate you less today." No, she doesn't say that. That's me talking, not her. Model is a safari model. It's what's that?
I think it's just
Well, I mean, I can't tell if it's supposed to be a juvenile. I can't tell. It looks a lot like, up close, it looks like like it might have been made for the 1970s Land of the Lost. It is not what we're used to, quality-wise.
I've never seen one of these in person, so that's not a fair statement.
Well, I mean, nobody has.
But it,
We can't really say it doesn't look realistic. It might very well be the most current accepted view. You know, for years, for years, when they would find ancient animals, they would just drape skin on it and say, "This is what it looked like." They would just drape skin over the skeleton and say, "This is what it looked like," without consideration for muscle tone or skin or anything like that. And it affected our perspective of what these animals look like, to the point where when they finally did say, "Hey, wait, this one has feathers. We have feathered impressions in the fossil." Nuh-uh. That's not what my dinosaur looks like. I can't be afraid of no big turkey. Well, if you can't be afraid of a big turkey, you've never been on a farm, because big turkeys are quite frightening when they're mad. That's enough pencil. But this thing is about 30 feet long, 32 feet long, about a third of the size of a blue whale. Had a bite in the range of 6,000 pounds per square inch, which, you know, that's a pretty strong bite. That is one pretty strong bite. I wouldn't want to be bitten by it. Are they fast?
Yeah, they run fast. They swim fast.
They swim fast. Oh yeah, they're. You know what? I have no idea how fast they swim. They may swim like alligators. They may swim like dolphins. I have no idea. Their tail goes. You know what? Their tail has to go up and down, but it's got the side to side. It's got a thinness going up and down, but it has to articulate like a reptile's. So it probably swims like an alligator or an iguana, but it has fins. It has flippers instead of legs. I mean, not fins. It has flippers instead of legs. So this is one of those land animals that said, you know what? Land is just not for me, and moved back into the oceans. It's from the cold inland sea from Australia. This is not an open sea animal. This is the cold inland sea from Australia. Originally, the very first finding was just about 6 teeth, found by a guy named Andrew Crombie in Hughenden, Queensland in 1899. And they originally mischaracterized it as an ichthyosaur, which is a fish dinosaur. Ichthya meaning fish. But they originally mischaracterized it as an ichthyosaur. These are not gills, these are wrinkles. I need to make sure they don't look like gills. They're wrinkles in the neck. And it took until 1924 when they finally had enough specimens that they said, hey, wait a minute. This thing is different than anything else we've got. Its 6 teeth that they found are conical. They're not curved and sharp like a Tyrannosaurus tooth, or serrated like a raptor. They're just round and conical. I guess dolphins have round and conical teeth. I think that's right. And that means their teeth are made just to reach out and grab and hold on, and then they do that whole when they eat something. Good morning, Pamela. But they don't chew their food. Their stomach contents have fossilized. They have fossilized stomach contents, and their stomach contents showed that they took big chunks out of whatever they were eating and just swallowed it whole. They have one specimen of a plesiosaur where its head has been separated from its body, and there are bite marks on it. And they believe that the Kronosaurus just bit a big chunk of the neck off. So, they don't. That's speculation. They do have the teeth marks on the animal though. But if you look at the stomach contents that they have discovered on the Kronosaur, you'll find that they swallow. They take bites and they swallow the bites whole. When it said Kronosaurus, I thought it was going to have something to do with time, because Kronos usually means time. But no, it's named after the mythological god Kronos, who is known for eating his children. Which is funny, because at the time, they didn't know anything about this particular pliosaur. But the only juvenile specimen they have has adult bite marks on its skull. And they don't know if that means that the adult killed the juvenile, or if the adult just ate an already dead juvenile, or if they were just fighting. They don't know, of course. There's no way of knowing. But the original assumption was that cannibalism, that the adult was eating the juveniles, because many reptiles do eat their offspring. Don't really know, and they don't have anything to compare it to, because there's only one specimen. There's only one juvenile specimen. So they don't really have anything at all to compare it to. This is my favorite part. This is the part that makes the whole thing come together. Gives the whole thing depth, so that it's not just lines on a page. This gives the whole thing form for me. Impression that we're looking at a dimensional object instead of just lines on the page. I probably never told you guys that before. It says what?
I have a moment, then you would want to do that.
Right. Could have been something as simple as the juvenile decided to confront the adult for maybe mating season, and the juvenile felt like he was ready, and he was not. There's really no way to know, and there's several hundred explanations of what it could have been besides cannibalism. But because so many reptiles practice cannibalism, that was the go-to. Arting. Yeah, I thought it had something to do with time, but no, it has It's the mythological Kronos who ate his children to keep them from taking over his power, his kingdom, whatever it was he ruled. Drop shadows make all the difference in the world sometimes. Yeah, Pamela, you're absolutely right. May have just had a teen moment. Let me dry this real quick and we'll come back with some color. There you go. Let's see, we need this brush back. And I think I'm going to start with just a little ochre. Just a real thin layer of ochre. We'll come back with some vermilion too. That gray is a warm gray. I'm going to warm it up. I'm going to put some ochre down first to hide any white spots. And then I'm going to come back on top in places with just a little bit of vermilion just to warm it up in places. Well, a little more vermilion than that. Just to warm it up in places. Especially where the light hits it. And then I think I'm going to come back with some Prussian blue. Touch of vermilion to gray it up. But I don't want a heavy coat. I just want a really light coat. And that's going to give us the dark markings. So one of these animals got the nickname Plasterosaurus. When they first assembled it, they had used so much plaster in the assembly that they ended up with extra vertebrae. They had extra plaster vertebrae castings, and they assumed that it just went with the specimen, and so they added them in there and made him 42 feet long, which would have made him the longest marine. Would have made him the longest marine reptile ever. But it turns out that because of that mistake, they added 7 feet to him that he shouldn't have had. And so when they took those off, it brought him back down to the 30 to 34 feet that he should have been. Be too much blue, but I kind of like it, so I'm leaving it. I'm going to leave it. I mean, I could come back with some vermilion and gray that up just a little bit. Just a little bit. Because it's a lot of blue. I like it better than that coloration. And there's nothing that says that it has to be that color. Plus, that separates it from the page. Let me dry that and we'll ink it. Anyway, the one they called Plasterosaurus was inadvertently made 42 feet long instead of the standard 34 feet long, 30 to 34 feet long. And there's still textbooks that still list this thing as the longest marine reptile. Missed this right here. Let me fix this because I missed this right here. Most fun fact for me, though, I got into an argument with the AI over this one, the research assistant on Gemini and on Claude. Has a cousin, very similar cousin in Colombia. This thing is found in Queensland, Australia, and yet has a very similar cousin found in Colombia. Which suggests that they existed together, that they occupied the same, at least a cousin, at least a common relative occupied the land that used to be South America, Australia, and Antarctica. But the AI can't think about stuff like that. The AI can only tell you what the research verifies. And everybody is so insistent. No, this is a separate species. Okay, but it's a pliosaur, and it's the only place on the planet that pliosaurs are found. So far, are these two areas that used to be connected. Subtle hint. The only place on the planet that pliosaurs are found are lands that used to be connected, and you're willing to die on the hill that they're not related. I'm not buying that. Just not buying that. I come on here thinking they have a common ancestor. And as they drifted apart, they speciated. And ultimately changed enough to merit different genuses. But they're still pliosaurs. And they're real big to argue about convergent evolution. Convergent evolution is when two different animals come to the same evolutionary conclusion, like bats forming wings and birds forming wings. Wings on bats and wings on birds is considered convergent evolution, even though they're different mechanisms that perform the same function. That's considered convergent evolution. That kind of convergent evolution, I agree with. But when you have two plesiosaurs that lose their necks, what that tells me is that they're not that they were related, because they were already plesiosaurs. If it would have been a plesiosaur and a brachiosaur, a plesiosaur and a sauropod that lost its neck, that would be convergent evolution. But if I have red hair and my cousin has red hair, obviously we had a red-headed ancestor. What is today? The 21st of July. I do need some texture on that skin, though. Especially in the shadows. He's not all that smooth skinned. All right, I'm calling it.
You think he would be smooth being in the water?
But he's still a reptile. I mean, he's smoother skinned than... He's smoother skinned than many of his cousins on land, but in the water he's bumpy compared to a dolphin. All right, so there's my version of it compared to the photograph. Let's see what it looks like from my perspective. Chat was really quiet today.
Yep.
Pamela and Rick must be arcing. There it is from my perspective. So that's what I did today. Tomorrow, what do we have tomorrow? Is that tomorrow's? Is that really tomorrow's? Can't be. And yet it sure enough is. It's a bingo ball. And if it's a bingo ball, that means that it is this giraffe weevil. This particular giraffe weevil is from Madagascar. It's not the giraffe weevil found in New Zealand. So we're gonna do this little creepy crawly tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
We're going to talk about how it uses its neck the same way giraffes do. It swings it like a hammer to fight other giraffe weevils. We'll talk about its relationship to the giraffe weevil in New Zealand, which is practically null except for the fact that they're both weevils. So Pamela says, I'm currently painting the thing you have on your desk. That's great. That's great, Pamela. I really just figured you were enjoying a quiet morning. But I love that you guys are arting along with me. That's fantastic. But yeah, this is what we're going to be doing tomorrow is a giraffe weevil. We'll talk about that and more fun giraffe weevil facts tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. Texas time. So you're going to want to set your notification bell so you don't miss that. Rick says, God must have had fun creating that little bug. You know, I think God has a lot of fun making stuff all the time. I'll see something and go like, yeah, that's just to confuse us. There's no way. God said, you know what? Let's make yellow spotted horses with a big long neck. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I look forward to it every day when I get to art with my besties. It is truly my favorite time of the day. I've been sitting in this desk today, at this seat today since 4:45, just waiting for 5:30 to happen. I darted down here very early just so I could be here and be prepared. And I think I still started 1 minute late. But be sure and tune in tomorrow. Same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel, and then we dance. We dance until somebody says they see me dancing, because when they see me dancing, I will know that the lag has caught up to the stream and I won't have to worry about being cut off mid-sentence. Being cut off mid-sentence is rude. Nobody likes that. Gives everybody a chance to click the clicky things, say hello and goodbye to each other, and ask any questions if they want. Yep, that's exactly right, Rick. God has a great sense of humor. But again, the most important part of this is to make sure that I don't get cut off mid-sentence, because being